Dear Mr. Hassan, thanks a lot for your question, and today we will see how to import data from external sources such as Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Access into Microsoft SQL Server. I created an Access file with one single table where all these data are saved, as you can see in the screen, and from there I will bring this data into SQL Server table, and this table will be our data source to import the data to our structure, because I cannot take this data right away from Access into my structure because we have a lot of constraints and checks in the database rules. So let us see how to do that. Open Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio and right click on the database where you want to bring this data in. Right click on it, select tasks, and from tasks select import data. A wizard will show up. Skip the first screen, press next. Second screen will show choose a data source. I will select Microsoft Access and I will browse the file. Click next, and here choose a destination. I will choose Microsoft SQL Server native client, and I will choose the database from here, which is BDnew1, and I press next, and I will choose copy data from one or more tables or views. I press next, and here this screen is divided into two partitions. The left side is the data source where the data come from Microsoft Access, and it shows all the tables, but in this case we have only one table. And on the right side it shows the destination table. Here's an interesting button there, say edit mappings, and it shows you all the data types and everything. So most of the cases this wizard does it right if you import from Access, of course. So here I have the name, the date of birth, everything is set with the correct data type. Back to the previous screen, I will press next, finish, and the wizard now will start transferring the data, and it choose me success and 19 rows transfer. Close this wizard, go back to your database, refresh the table list. So you will see the table here is created. Contact data import with the columns were brought from Microsoft Access. So this is the data. Now we have to use this table to import the data into our structure. In order to do that, we need to add two columns. Right click on the table, say design. So in the top we press insert column, and we put a column. We call it transaction ID. This will identify every single row in order to make a unique number for my transaction where I use on my import process. And I will add another column and call it transaction status, where I have to capture the errors or the status of importing this record. So we'll add transaction ID, we'll make it integer, primary key, and we make it identity, so it will give values for itself. And transaction status, we make it in varchar max, so it can handle any errors saved on it. We save the table. Now let's have a look after the changes we made. Select star from contact import. Here's the transaction ID's identity and the serial number, and the transaction status is all null because I haven't started doing anything yet. Now the data source is ready for start importing them into our structure. In the previous video, it was an answer to Mr. Ayman Ibrahim. We have made a stored procedure to import this data, and it was handled very well. With a little bit of modification to this stored procedure, we will use it to import all these data sources we brought from Access into our database structure. The difference is, last time we had to feed the store procedure with the parameters every single time, but now the store procedure will find the data source, processing them, put it in our structure. Let us see how to do this. We will create a store procedure that uses cursor. Cursor is a database object used to retrieve data one row at a time from a result set. Unlike transact SQL command, which works or operates on all the rows at one time, cursor works same as looping concept, manipulating data row by row. We create a new store procedure and we give it a name sp insert contact phones bulk. This store procedure will not have any input parameters unlike the other one we made before. But yet, we must use these parameters as part of the process. Then we declare a cursor. Give it a name, for example, cursor mass import. Local static. Local means it's reference to this batch only. If it is global, it can be reference to any other batch or store procedure executed by the connection. Static means the data fetched to the cursor will be static. The cursor reads it one time in the beginning and use it all the way until we finish my process. If it is dynamic, every time it checks for whether the data set changes or not. Now the cursor is declared for what? For select. And I will select the data from the staging table we have brought from Access. I will select a transaction ID, name, date of birth, address, and I will map the phone type to an ID, as you see, using the case function and the phone number. Where, this is very important, where is the transaction status is null, because I don't need to reprocess again the rows which is already processed, or the transaction has an error. So maybe I have another chance to reprocess the rows that have an error if this error was fixed. Then we open the cursor. Then we fetch the next row from the data set above into my variables. This part is very important. They have to be fetched in the same order. If you look at the select statement in the cursor, it comes with this order: transaction ID, name, date of birth, address, phone type, phone number. And they have to go into my variables with the same order. Do not scramble that. So the cursor will fetch the data set above row by row into these variables. Then we say while fetch status equal to 0 means the fetch statement was successful. Sometimes the fetch status could be -1. That happened when the statement failed to retrieve any row. It could be -2 if the row was deleted, and the other one was -9 when the cursor is not performing a fetch operation at all. So here we use only the successful fetch status, which is equal to 0. Then I will say begin, and here's my process starts all the way down till I say end for the fetch status 0. I will basically copy the same processing code we have created in the other store procedure we made it, and I will make a small modification. First thing, we start with begin transaction, not begin try, because we have one transaction always at a time going with the cursor. Then I'll begin try with this transaction. I will try to insert a contact, and instead of print the information on the screen, I will take it and assign it to my transaction status using this command is null transaction status. I'll trim it and I add it to contact exist, where this very important transaction ID equal to the variable of transaction ID which I am capturing at the moment. Then I will continue, else if the contact does not exist, we insert it, and instead of print I will also move this to update to the transaction status, take the previous status and add contact inserted into it, and this is end. Now I will try to insert the phone, same thing, and instead of print I will take the print and I put it in the transaction status all the way down until we reach the end try. Then we begin catch, we declare the errors. And here is very important. If transaction count is more than 0, this returns the number of begin transaction statements that have happened on the current connection. If I have one or more transaction happen with the begin catch, I will roll back everything and I will update the transaction status with the error variables instead of printing them, and I will end catch. Then right after that I will say if the transaction count more than 0, again that replies to the begin transaction when it's successful. Then I will commit everything happen in the begin and end try. That's it. Then I will fetch next row from the record set into my variables until the cursor looping all the records, and when they finished it will end and then after end I will have to close the cursor and deallocate it, and this is the end for the store procedure. Okay, now let us try that thing. But first, keep in mind all these numbers we have in the staging table already exist in our structure. But we will run the store procedure to see what happened. Here, first I will select all the records from my staging table. They all come with status null. And now I will execute the store procedure and we'll see what happened. Very fast. Select again. And here we have contact exist. Here is one error because it has a dash. And all of them exist except another error, and that's all. Now let us try to play about this data. First we will change the phone numbers where the errors were indicated. We have 3 here: transaction 2 and transaction 12 and transaction 15. We change the numbers and make them valid to pass the constraint. Then again we run the store procedure and check the data again, see what happened. As you can see, the transaction status for these 3 records, number 2, number 12, number 15, were changed to the contact exist because they are already there. So we try another thing, that we truncate all the phone numbers we have in the database, set the transaction status null to all of them, and try again. As you can see here, after we execute the store procedure for all records, contact exist and phone number inserted. Now we try something else. We truncate both tables and try again. Here we don't have any records in the TBL contacts phone, neither TBL contacts. We reset transaction status to null and execute the store procedure. Again, we check the 2 tables. Now we have rows in TBL contacts and we have the phone number in TBL contacts phone. We check our staging table. As you can see, the transaction status for all of them. Okay, first contact inserted, phone inserted. The second one, contact exists, because the same one, Alex, we already inserted in the previous transaction. And the third, same thing for Alex, and so on for the rest. Okay, now we will add another record, a new record to the staging table with dash, and see what will happen. See here, transaction number 20. It shows the error of the check constraint, and this will roll back. If we check our 2 tables, we don't have Fox here. It's not imported, and we don't have any phone numbers for him. Okay, if we fix that to Fox, remove the dash and try again. Now it's imported, the phone number and the contact, and the status says inserted. We check in our tables. Here we have him, Fox, row number 9, and in the phone number he has last row number 21. And I think that should be it. We handled all the cases in our structure. You have the store procedure and the staging table. You can put some more data and have fun, man. Thank you very much, Hosam.